Hi, folks. Welcome to the Moving On podcast. I'm Jay Norman, and this is my wife.
Hi, I'm Jessie Norman. Just like many of you, Jay and I have both walked through some difficult seasons in our lives.
And we know just how easy it is to get stuck.
We now have 5 beautiful
and crazy
children, and because of everything we've been through, our home operates on grace.
A concept we didn't fully understand until way later on in life.
Until we actually needed it ourselves. We want to share through stories of love and laughter,
How we were moving on and how big of a game changer grace can be.
in relationship with one another, and how we treat ourselves, and in our case, blending a family.
Something that may just require the largest amount of grace to date.
Preach.
You never know what road life's going to take you on. We have a podcast.
Yes, we do, and we really hope y'all enjoy it. Hi, friends. We recorded these first 2 episodes before really knowing some of the ropes. Some things that came up in conversation may be confusing to you if you don't know us.
So when you hear Lily, Liza, and Cash, those are Jess's kids. And when you hear Henley and Hartley, those are my kids. And Lana or Lanny is Jess's best friend.
We really were just anticipating our moms and a handful of others listening to the first episode. We had no idea all of you would take the time to listen and send the most beautiful texts and emails. We appreciate all of you and your feedback more than anything.
Yes, thank y'all so much. And with that, here's episode 2. Babe, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, babe, the second verse, same as the first.
I see, and that means what?
Grace again.
Oh, our favorite topic.
We have so much more to talk about, which our whole podcast revolves around grace. Every episode won't be on grace particularly, but this one is going to include, a little bit more of what we wanted to say last week and just ran out of time.
Ran out of time, and it's a big, broad topic that means a lot to us.
Right.
And something we, I guess, in a way have studied and spent a lot of time thinking about and talking about.
It intrigues us.
Very much so. and really, when we're talking about grace, we talked about grace for other people that we, last week, that we, in the outside world, and taking it today, mainly more about grace for ourselves.
Right. We're so hard on ourselves.
Kind of an internal deal, and the challenges we've faced as we've kind of moved on, so to speak.
Right. With the holidays coming and going, there's so much stress. Even if you have the best family and the best in-laws, there's just still so much stress that's involved with getting ready. And so after the holidays go, it's almost like a trauma has occurred,
Well, especially when you're blending a family. It's because you're not only blending your children, you're blending
families,
the extended families, and changing traditions and adding traditions and changing time frames and all that stuff. And that's something that we deal with not only on holiday time, but for birthdays. And it's the things you don't think about when you talk about blending a family is blending the external family.
It's one big puzzle, and that's why I brought that up, is just when you were saying having grace for yourself. A lot of self-speak that I've had for the past couple of days has just been so unhealthy. And so today I just put a kibosh on it, like, Jessie, would you speak this way to Lily? Would you speak this way to Liza? And the answer is no, and so it just has to stop. And so just being kinder to ourselves, everything, even if it didn't go the way you wanted it to, even if you said some things in a tired state that you think wasn't the right thing to say right then, give yourself a break and hit the reset button and go forward.
Right.
# I'm moving on.
I'm moving on. And, it goes all the way back to being a single parent, and especially for me, not ever really shopping or cleaning or trying to
we're going way back.
Trying to do a ponytail and stuff like that. But, it was a battle every day to get that done, especially when the kids were there. And, I really struggled with it for about 6 months till I figured out I didn't have to do everything perfect. I didn't have to do it over the top. And
it's kind of easy to feel like a loser in those days when you're not knowing how to wash clothes and you're 6 years old. And you can kind of get down on yourself. It's same with us. I didn't know how to clean the dryer lint trap. Not the trap, but the thing that goes in the wall, or I wasn't accustomed to getting my oil changed or calling handymans for this and that. I didn't really even know where to start. So you really do have to give yourself some grace.
Yeah, I had a really good education on ponytails. That was not good. That as we're married now and have 3 girls, that stuff I've learned, I wish I would have known back then. It would have made life a lot easier. We had a lot of mornings before school that were major battles.
You told me about that. And I know when we first blended our families, that was the sweetest thing is Hartley would sit in front of Lily and she would fix her hair. And I have a few pictures. That was always a really sweet way that they connected because Hartley was just so happy to have someone make her look presentable for school when she was at Dad's.
Yeah, and somebody that could tell her if clothes didn't match and et cetera, et cetera.
Lily to the rescue.
Yeah, and so when you move forward there and you start blending a family like we talked about, we talked about all that grace last week. But then we've learned, too, that even in this process, there's a lot of grace we have to have for ourselves.
We do, and I have a boxing coach. Her name is Lisa. She is from the Lord to my arms. She used to coach Jay years and years ago, and I don't know, I got to a point, my grandpa was a prize fighter, and I just wanted to really see if I would enjoy boxing, and so Jay was like, well, I'll call Lisa, and anyways, long story short, we got connected back with her, and more than anything, she is a beautiful counselor for me.
And a little Spitfire.
She's a Spitfire. We worked out with her and her husband about 2 hours ago, Jay and I, and so we're still completely worn out.
Yeah, she's an ex-professional boxer and really quick and quick-minded and fun to be around.
Babe, on a side note, was that your only workout today?
No, it was not. That was my second, so I'm just barely glad to be sitting in the chair right now.
Yeah, and this is not even the new year yet.
Nope, got started ahead of time.
So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we'll not be able to walk tomorrow, but we'll burn that bridge when we get there.
And you may fall asleep on your mic.
Could do it. Might be breathing a little heavy still.
But back to Lisa, what made me think of her is, I'll kind of pour out to her and her husband are on their second marriage and just have a beautiful blended family, a beautiful story. And we really enjoy being around them, just how joyful they are in their lives and how far they've come, and they've just really walked through that fire. And so they really do have a lot of grace and a lot of mental health and a lot of balance. You can just feel it when you're around them. And she was telling me the other day, I was kind of pouring out to her and I was kind of losing it and just embarrassed for losing it and hard on myself and just kind of beating up on myself verbally. And she finally was like, Jessie, if this was easy for you, if blending a family was easy for you, if blending a family didn't just completely flatten you or you didn't get riled up, you would be crazy. That's when you would be crazy, not being crazy from everything that's going on. This is normal, what you're showing. If you were doing it the way your inner self is saying, that would not be normal. And it was just kind of this neat little pass from one friend to another, permission to freak out.
Well, and then too, some of that, sometimes some things you build up in your head to what they are and what they mean and push yourself to the point of... Oh, my wife's taking
our producer's
big old drink with a metal straw here, clanking everything around, and these mics pick up everything.
I recognize that was not the best decision, but I'm new at this.
Okay. I was just saying that I think you get to a point that...
A metal straw? Who would grab a metal straw?
I wondered when you brought it up here. I thought, man, a little whisper quiet there.
Why didn't you say anything?
I figured you'd handle it.
All right. Sorry.
I was just saying about how when you're going through that and you're kind of beating yourself up and you're beating other people up, how you just sometimes, like you said, it gets to a point that you can't turn it around. And, you find somebody like Lisa that, like she told us today, it took them 11 years to get to a point. And, to have the grace for each other and have the grace for themselves to be able to come together in that relationship and actually be something to enjoy.
It's pretty comforting.
It is comforting, too. But I think, too, for us, being able to sit here and talk about this stuff is something, in my opinion, going to improve our relationship quicker and hopefully talking to people like Lisa, who had an 11-year track record of dealing with this stuff and figuring this grace deal out, which, in turn, hopefully can, mesh all this together. Ultimately, how we want it to be. It's not ever going to be perfect. Nobody's life is, but we want it as close as it can be.
Well, for sure. And I know in the first few times we were recording, even just for test recordings for our producer, we would hit the stop button, take our headphones off, and Jay would say, "You hadn't told me any of that," and we would just laugh like that. That was like a conversation we were needing to have, but it was like we had to talk it into mics, which is funny. So, but no, there's so many different facets of it. And there were so many things that I wanted to talk about last week, and you just don't get to all of it. And so I thought, well, let's just do it again. Who's going to care? And if you do, it's okay. We'll have another good one soon.
Sure. Well, I think it's a topic that's worth two podcasts to listen and learn about, because ultimately, this one is probably the most important, is having it for yourself, because it's easy in this position when you add in work and you add in family and you add in blended family and extended family. It's easy to get down on it and worry about it and try to make everything perfect, and it's not possible to do. So you have to have grace to give to yourself to be like, man, there's just no way you're going to get all this done. Just back up, do everything you can, and go on from there. And we've got friends going through stuff right now that that are having issues with family members that are having to have the same thoughts we are right now.
Right, for sure. There seems to be a lot of Me Too going around with the struggles. It's all in different forms, but that was something silly on Christmas or during the holidays, is were we getting to the right homes? And that was stressful. And was everyone getting a present or enough presents? And what if I forgot presents? We had traveled to my mom's in Baton Rouge, and meanwhile, one of my dearest friends lost her mom on Christmas evening. And so it was just like, goodness, could we please keep things in perspective, because their Christmases will never be the same,
Right.
But last week we were talking, one of my favorite quotes we had talked about last week was a meme that floats around Facebook that just says, "Everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. Be kind always." But what that was reminding me of as I was going through the week is when Cash was born, he was due on my birthday, which is the 24th of June, but he came early on the 19th. And Cash was experiencing some jaundice symptoms, and they admitted us back into the hospital. And I was just so selfish. Like, we couldn't hold him. We were stuck in this stupid hospital room that we had finally broken out of. When you get ready to leave from the hospital, it's just, you're just done and so ready. My parents were in town. I'm such a parents girl. And they mean the world to me. They were at my home ready to celebrate my birthday, and here I'm stuck at the hospital, and I can't even hold Cash. And I don't even know if he's going to be fine. His levels were so high, and so as a new mama, you're so hormonal that day 3, day 4. And I just sat by his bed and cried and cried. Even the nurses were just worried. I was just being so irrational. And I finally just went across the street to Walmart, got a Diet Coke and some chocolate, and I was heading back over to the hospital, and the light turned green. And I remember just kind of leaving, just kind of checking out. And when I realized what was going on, I was kind of going 2 or 3 miles an hour into the intersection. And everybody was crazy angry, laying on their horns. And I just remember thinking, I will never honk at a person ever again. If they, they don't know what's going on. And I know that's not a huge situation, but to me, 6 years ago, I was younger and less, hadn't been through a lot of life lessons just yet. It was huge to me. And I just remember getting some perspective of, they think I'm on my phone, or they think I'm being lazy, or they think I'm being an airhead. And meanwhile, so much is going on, and that's when a lot of grace came in for that too.
You're in your own little world and realize other people can be there too.
Yes, and you just don't ever know what anyone is walking through. Last week, I had a really tough morning. I can't remember all the details, but I do remember getting all the way to McKinney, and we don't live very close to McKinney. I remember getting all the way to McKinney without my wallet. And that's the morning you had taken Jay was being so sweet to take my car for the oil change and the tires to get rotated. But meanwhile, it just kind of threw my schedule off, and I made it to McKinney without my wallet. And it was, the holidays, trying to get ready for everything. And you're so stressed and everything. And so I got to Academy. I was so frustrated, just in a tizzy, in a bad mood, angry. And I walk up to the counter, and my girlfriend, Kim, is standing there waiting to check out. And she's crying, and the checkout girl is crying. And I'm like, Kim, what's going on? We CrossFit together. And she came and gave me a hug, and she said, we lost our dog today, and my children don't know today yet. And this is just days before Christmas. What a horrible time to lose your family dog. And so I just gave her the tightest hug I could, and she walked off, and I checked out with the girl who's still crying. And she said, is that your friend? I said, yes, my friend Kim, we CrossFit together. And she goes, it just really hit home for me because we lost our 2 dogs this year in a fire when our house burnt down. And she's crying.
Yeah.
And here I am, frustrated because I had to drive 15 miles back to get my purse and 15 miles back to McKinney. And there were more things that had happened that morning, but not, anything compared to what those 2 women had gone through. And I just felt like God was like, let's keep a little bit of perspective on the situation,
Right.
So you just never really do know.
No, you for sure don't. What somebody's facing and what's happened in their life that's a huge deal, just like you pulling out into traffic, just having a newborn baby you're worried about and nobody has a clue about it, but everybody's mad at you because they think you're doing something wrong.
And everyone has an opinion.
And, as far as like having grace for yourself, I think we all battle everything from weight to, making decisions, business decisions, work decisions, and being able to learn to step back and take a look at it, especially for me, and realize, not that I think I'm Superman, but that I don't have to do everything perfect.
Right.
Or in my mind, like I one time thought it was perfect anyway.
Sure.
I don't have to get everything just right. I can realize I can mess up, that it's fixable, it's not the end of the world, and
sure.
Just not being as hard on yourself.
Yeah, not being so hard on yourself. I know my sister a few years ago, when I was having a hard time, just put it to me so simply and just said, would you say these things to Lily and Liza? And the answer is just no. And the things that we say to ourselves as women, would we turn and say that to our closest friend that we're most comfortable with? Would I turn to Lana and say, you have really gained some weight on your love handles? I would never say that to her, but I'll say that to myself 5 or 6 times a day, especially through these holidays. And really, just if it's not good enough to say to your best friend, why is it good enough to say to yourself?
Right. Well, and I think when you're a nice person and you're a good person and you don't want to, and nobody wants you to go out and be hard on anybody else, at least not out loud. You tend to, when things aren't good, you go back and abuse yourself really basically with it, and hard on yourself on everything that comes along.
Right. That book that we read this summer, The Subtle Art of Not Giving Enough, that was one of the things that really stood out to me, is that out of all the conversations you have throughout your day, the majority of them are with yourself in your head.
Sure.
And just how we really can mess ourselves up with that negative self-speak, and it's just in us.
Well, and I think that's what grace teaches you is that, that you don't have to worry as much what about everybody's thinking because they have their own problems. No matter what they're saying about you, they have their own situations. They need to take care of that. You got to take care of yours.
Yeah.
And I think you just have to realize that and just back up and say, look, I'm going to deal with it my way, and they'll just have to take it or leave it.
Right. Jen Hatmaker, she's she's amazing. She has a podcast and is an author and speaker, public speaker, and all of her social media is so amazing to follow. And today, you would have to go see it, but she just posted this beautiful, every scenario, like with the holidays. A few things didn't go right, and you can't stop thinking of them, period, normal, period. And then she just went through so many things that she wrote out, different scenarios that she's dealing with, and she can assume that we are too. And at the end of each sentence, she would just write normal, period. And I don't know what is so comforting to hear. I think we pay a lot of money to go sit on a couch and have a therapist tell us we're normal. That was something so comforting for Lisa to say normal, and to get on Instagram and read Jen Hatmaker saying everything you're dealing with, normal. Because we all have spoken so negatively to ourselves that we've all decided something's wrong. We're not right. Something's not right. We're freaking out. We're failing. Oh God, we're a failure. We just kind of get to a whole other planet.
Well, I think that too, when you're going through something tough, whether it's, being a single parent, going through a divorce, trying to be in a family, everything gets blown out of proportion in your own mind.
Right.
When there's a problem, you think it's bigger, and in reality,
right.
As my granddad used to say, it's kind of like a monkey pissing in the ocean. It doesn't amount to a whole
good,
lot.
Honey.
Excuse me. I'm a little country on y'all, sorry.
It really doesn't.
No.
It really doesn't. And I really like that. I'm really sad you've never told me that before. Where's the monkey standing?
Just at the edge of the ocean.
Like on the beach?
Yeah, just at the edge of the ocean. Never really went that far with it.
Okay.
Just a monkey pissing in the ocean. Just picture in your head.
Well, that's just something I would want to right now say to anybody that's listening is, you're normal. You're doing so well. And that, I don't know, I do know that we all connect on the friendship level and the parent level and there's just any relationship that you can think of. If any of that self-speak went outward, if any of the things that in the past few days specifically, the past few days have been real hard on my inner self, just because of the, not trauma of the holidays, but just the holidays are a big event. And so after just comes kind of, I don't know, you're kind of recovering, What I just really do think is healthy is pick your favorite person, or pick the person in your life that you're most tender about, whether it's your mom or one of your children that is just kind of has the most tender of hearts. And take any of those sentences and imagine yourself speaking that to them, and just how that would be. It would just be horrific and just something you would never want for your life, and just how much they are loved, that you're loved, and you cannot say these things to yourself. Something funny is a few years back, I did an exercise where they wanted us to draw our inner self, what she looked like, and give her a name. And I gave her the name of Amber. And so for years, my sister and I, we would just text each other, "Shut up, Amber," because she would know that was my inner one. But what's really funny is two of my best friends are named Amber. So I don't know why I picked Amber. Amber has just always stood out to me as maybe like a, not valley girl, but kind of like cheerleader, beautiful girl. And anyways, and so anytime I'm just being really hard on myself, I'm like, "Shut up, Amber, just shut up." "Amber, you go sit over there." And I'll just out of the blue, I'll text my sister, "Amber, go sit in the corner," and she'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and she'll know exactly what's happening. And that's that negative speak has just gotten to be too much.
Right. And it's easy to get yourself backed into a corner. And
yeah. Babe, do you guys deal with negative self-speak?
We do.
You do?
Yeah, on everything. I think you run onto it. especially for me, something I've dealt with a huge part is being a dad, especially being a dad to a son and doing things right and trying to teach him right, trying to discipline right, and trying to teach him, just stuff, what we do for a living, just and failing at that and not getting enough of it, especially being a blended family and only having him part of the time. I mean, I worry about that he's not getting enough of a dad and not getting enough, whether it's training for what he's going to do later on in life, training how he's going to treat a woman, training how he needs to treat his sisters and other people, that he's getting enough of it. And it's easy to get negative about it and get down on yourself if you, any kid, if you come down on them too hard and, especially when you don't see them a lot, you start second guessing yourself, and it's pretty hard to deal with.
Right.
And, that's been the main deal for me is just being a dad. And then I think the next one is being a husband and trying to do that right and dealing with a blended family. You get to thinking, well, I'm not doing that right, or, what I do in this situation, well, I really screwed that up. And in reality, there's, not anything I could do about it.
Right.
I can't go back and change it.
Where does that come from? Are you comparing yourself, or where does it come from?
I don't know about comparing myself. I think it's more second guessing, looking, it's done. What should I have done different?
Right.
And
so you guys do that too?
Sure.
Do you replay things that you've said to people?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yeah, I play it before I say it, and I play it after I say it.
Stop it. I really thought that was just a girl thing.
No.
Y'all do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's not good for you, because if you guys want to know, Jay has the mind of an elephant. He remembers everything. He has the best memory of anyone I've ever met.
A blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it would have to be, babe.
Good for business, not so good otherwise.
Right. Good for a lot of things. I really do not. However much he has a memory, I don't have one, and it really bothers me.
It's great for telling stories about your siblings, and it's great for...
Yeah, because none of them remember. They're like, Jay, did that really happen? And he's like, yeah, you don't remember. You could be making all of it up.
They would never know.
But we trust you.
Well,
I'm sure it's real.
Yeah. I think that part is a lot more upside than it is the downside, but having that negative memory does let you go back to some of that, that double talk or, whatever you call it, to go back and kind of beat yourself on. And that's something that I've learned over the last 2 years is, just got to push that out and get on by it. I think a little bit's healthy because it keeps you in check.
Sure.
I think it's a good check and a balance, but at the same time, it can go too far and put you in a mood when you don't need to be in a mood.
Right. A lot of things that we spoke about over the holidays were lowering our expectations, and that helped a lot. And so that's something I really did try.
That's in yourself, or that's for family, or all the above?
I think the situation, like, we're a blended family. That's our situation. And so where other Christmases had this, looked this way, this Christmas wasn't going to look that way. And in fact, this Christmas that we just had wasn't even going to resemble last year. Because if you know anything about blended families, every other year it alternates. And so what I'm dealing with is the memory of having a family intact and being with them every day. And of course, every day means Christmas Day. Then having a new blended family where we were all together on Christmas. And then now, this past week, having a blended family where we weren't together on Christmas.
Yeah.
And so the expectations of, well, I'm sure this is going to happen this way, and you just bring it all the way down to where no matter what happens, you're happy because you didn't build it up and you didn't expect a certain thing. And I don't think that goes against anything. I really don't think there's anything incorrect about lowering your expectations.
No, I don't either, because, so much of it is out of your control.
Yeah.
And you're not going to please everybody. And, the main thing is we want to please the Lord, please our kids, And not necessarily please them, but, we want them to have a good holiday and know what it's all about, and for it not to be worried about making everybody else happy.
Yes. We had to really streamline it. And luckily, we really did get to spend some good time with our families, our extended family. And so that was really just icing on the cake, because we really had just brought it all the way back to, look, man, it's me and you, and we're going to make sure that the kids are having a wonderful time of making memories. We're going to try and get them to see some cousins. And that really was kind of our main focus.
Yeah, with memories, I guess, being the main part, not to overdo the gift giving.
Right.
And want them to have everything that they want up to a certain point. And then,
right.
I think that goes back to those life lessons.
Well, past has shown that my kids, Lily, Liza, and Kosh, past years, every past year besides this one, the more gifts you would give them, the uglier they would get. I don't know what it was about. It just was like this sensory overload. When you're doing a service project, or you're helping to feed the homeless, or you're helping to give to the needy, how that's just such a beautiful occurrence, and how that kind of brings out the beauty in everyone. I always not equate it, but that's how I kind of explain this idea is, when you're giving all of these gifts to my children, it's like the ugly comes out. It's kind of the opposite. They're not giving to others. They're not serving others. They're just sitting there getting it all. And it's like they kind of are like, well, how many more gifts? Well, who else are we going to see today? Do they have gifts? And I remember being like that when I was little.
Sure.
Like, is there anyone else coming over? Like, maybe I have a random aunt that hasn't been over yet, and does she have a gift? So I can't say I'm done with my gifts because she's coming.
I think it's easy, as a kid to not do that, especially in today's world when everything's streamed in front of them on a phone or on TV. And there again, we got to have grace for them for being kids and manage those expectations for them.
Well, and that's what I did. I went into Christmas and just said, here's the day they show their butts, and this is the day that they are not the best versions of themselves, but that's okay, and we're ready for it.
And you got proved wrong this year, though, didn't you?
I did. I really did. We haven't seen Henley and Hartley yet. So I don't know how they'll do with all of their gifts. I'm sure they'll be great. But with Lily, Liza, and Kosh, they were so appreciative. Everything they opened, even when Liza saw her big gift from Santa, she was like, Mom, I don't need to open anything else. And Kosh, he has probably 300 Matchbox cars, and he opened a box of 5 of them, the little set. And he acted like it was the first box of cars he had ever received.
Yeah.
And I had gotten each of them Bibles, and I knew maybe they wouldn't appreciate it this year, but, maybe when they were 20, they would just say, I got my first Bible. You kind of look back on those types of things. And so I was like, I'm just kind of planting some seeds. And they were all so sweet when they opened them. And just, even Cash, he opened his and kept pretending like he was ignoring us because he was reading his Bible, had his little legs crossed and stuff. And so it was like, since we managed expectations and went in with a different mindset, I couldn't get my feelings hurt because I was ready. It was just such a change. It was almost like I wasn't, just like that tug of war, that pulling on the rope. It was like, since I dropped the rope, it didn't leave room for them to act like little butts, because...
Well, part of that, we set ourselves up for failure, backing up again, being a single parent and and overdoing it, and not just at Christmas, but really throughout the year, trying to make up for what we perceived as being a problem, or needing to to make the kids feel better, and so I'd like to go back and change all that, but we can't. And now we're just working our way out of the hole, and
we really are, and that's something I kept thinking about is. Our Christmas to them, our gifts to them is half the equation. So if you take the amount that they got 4 years ago or 5 years ago, we should be giving them half. Their mom gives them half, we give them half. Their dad gives them half, we give the other half. That's not really how it's been.
No.
It seems like they're getting triple the amount. Yeah. And so we really...
And then you got extended family wanting to make them feel welcome.
They do.
And it's definitely it's an overload, and, in a way we want them to enjoy it, but at the same time,
right,
we've got to figure out how to get that right. And
I think that's why this year I was so much more easy to buy some clothes or buy their Bibles or, they're fine. They don't need to be won over. And I think at a point we did feel like that.
Sure.
But something so fun, and I don't even think we've talked a lot about it, is our kids. And I mentioned on the last episode, we have 5 children. Jay has 2, and I have 3, and they're the same age as each other. So Jay has a 13, I have a 13. Jay has a 9, I have a 9. We call them the twins. They look alike even. And then I have a little boy that's 6. And something that's been really fun in our marriage is they absolutely adore each other. And we weren't ready for that.
No.
And they want to be together in a room or together on the trampoline, all 5 of them.
Yeah, basketball court, whatever.
Why would 2 13-year-olds want to be with a 6-year-old?
Boy and a girl.
Yes. The boy and the girl are, we didn't know Hartley and Liza are our 9-year-olds. That was kind of easy for us to guess. They're going to love each other. But I don't think any of us kind of foresaw, is that the word?
I think so.
Could foresee.
Yeah.
Henley and Lily, they absolutely love each other. And they love to play basketball.
Yeah.
So the last time we were together was last week, and they all just played basketball into the night, and it was so special and so fun. And we really just dropped the rope on that. We don't say, give your sister a hug or go see your sister or go tell your brother goodbye, or no, that's not the right way. We just try not to micromanage them. We wanted their...
Well, I think all that goes back to, because we didn't start out that way.
No.
And we didn't necessarily stop because it wasn't working.
Right.
We just figured out that they had to have some grace for what they were dealing with.
Yes.
And to, over time, we're just going to have to let it cure itself and take care of it.
Organically.
Yeah, and it's still happening every day, and
Right.
it's gotten better every day. But I think that still ties back into, to what our topic is.
Right.
That's something we just had to say, hey, we got to back off of them. Mm-hmm. They're all different people. They all deal with it different. You can't go in and put a blanket on the top and make all that work. It's just not going to.
It's not going to. And if they're doing something because they think they're going to get in trouble, what does that mean? It means nothing to us. And so for us to take a step back and just be like, love each other if you want, don't love each other if you want, it's just up to all of you. And we just kind of took ourselves out of the equation and watched from afar. And luckily, they just really do love each other.
Now we just got to figure out how to make that continue for as much as we can. I know we're not going to micromanage that either, but...
Well, yeah. It doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter because we'll have these sweet memories of this, Well,
and I think it lays the foundation for it to be right. It just took us a while to
get out of the way.
Right.
And I think if we stay out of the way, they really, and that's why I started this whole topic is my kids have asked more times for Henley and Hartley than anything else. They call, Lily called on Christmas morning to see if Henley and Hartley were coming.
Yeah.
And that was all she wanted to know. Not did Santa come, not when are we going to open presents, not anything, just where's Henley and Hartley. And they just called a minute ago to tell me goodnight and when are Henley and Hartley coming. And they just always, they want to be by each other. They want to see each other. That's a huge, I don't know, just such a cool thing to me. And so when maybe...
It's a blessing and a relief, all mixed together.
It is so nice. And I just feel like that's a neat little hug from God, like you guys are doing good. Look how happy your kids are. And they just really do enjoy being around each other.
Right.
And so maybe if it's taking Henley and Hartley a little bit longer with me, or Lily and Liza and Cash a little bit longer with you, or sometimes it really just doesn't matter because... To me, the love that they have for each other is almost like their love for us, know? And that's what, they used to say, the best way to a man's heart is through his stomach, to cook for him. And I used to always say the best way to my heart is through my kids. Yeah. If I cannot stand someone and they walk up and love on my kids, I now love them. It's just something so endearing and so sweet. And so whenever your children love on my children, I take it as a win. It's just so beautiful to me.
I really like that, babe, when it's something to do with our kids, and that's our favorite topic. And
the kids.
Yeah, our kids are our favorite topic for sure.
We will kill these people with stories of our kids.
Yes, you'll know all their names, all their ages, and how many there are.
Over and over and over.
5's a big number, so we talk about it a lot.
Yes.
And then what else have you run into this week that's something that's touched your heart?
I have a good friend. Well, actually, Jay's best friend is married to one of my good friends, Sean and Stacy. And Stacy has had a doozy of a year. And her mama has had to go into an assisted living home with dementia. Stacy is someone that I really love because she puts the most beautiful stories on Facebook. And so it's almost like we can kind of live our day with her. I know people have kind of found that to be annoying in some circumstances with friends, but with my friend, Stacy, it's beautiful. I love reading her words. I wish that she would go viral because I want everyone to read what she writes. I love it. But her mom is so sweet, and she's had to go into assisted living with dementia. And so Stacy, really is just going through so much, having to make sure that her mom is well kept for. You would think that these nurses or, workers would take the best care of her mom, and she's not in a lower, facility. She's in a nice place.
Yeah.
She never has her clothes. She always is wearing someone else's jacket. She's always, her stuff is always missing. Stacy has had to just jump through so many hoops to make sure her mom is cared for, and she had gone to see her mom. And her mom was not doing well, of course, like she hasn't been doing really well or really in touch with reality. She kind of has an alternative thing going on. And so she kept saying something about they hadn't been giving her paycheck, or in the past few months they haven't been paying her. That's what her mom was telling Stacy when she arrived. And so Stacy, just being this master, peacekeeper, told the nurse, just walk in, tell me it's going to be direct deposit, and I'll take care of it. And I just thought that was so...
tell her it's going to be direct deposit.
She told the nurse, walk in, tell my mom that no worries, it's direct deposit, and Stacy will take care of it. And so she was telling us about all of this, and, we're all just trying to figure out what would we do with our moms, and how neat was that she was so quick on her toes. And so we were all talking about it with her, and my friend Alex got on there, and I want to say that his dad has dealt with dementia. And so I've got these two friends that are both, have walked and are walking through this fire with their a parent where they're mentally not there anymore, which is I just can't even imagine what they're dealing with. But it's neat to see them on, Instagram or Facebook give a hand to each other and give advice to each other. And so Alex jumped on there and he said, I'm slowly learning that correcting errors are really just a selfish act of futility. And I was like, whoa, that is something that is what we're talking about. And a lot of times when we're trying to get things just the way we want it, how selfish that can be. And
trying to get something how we perceive it should be.
Yes. And trying to pull her back in that moment, it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And Stacy knew exactly what to do, and that's evidently something Alex has learned, is just to ride the wave and go with it. And that's something that you're really good at. And in me, it triggers... If you like to just go with it, to not create any drama or tension, my red flag goes up that I'm being fake, or you're being fake, or you're not being authentic because you're just going with it. They just said something that wasn't true, and you didn't correct them and you didn't call them out. And how I think that I'm being right, I'm being real, I'm being authentic. And that's not true, because lately I've been seeing that when I am correcting someone, because I do want to stay connected with them, I do want to stay in the same realm with them, and I want everything to be honest and right and real, and that it's causing tension.
Sure.
And a tug of war, like we said.
And some of that is the monkey pissing in the ocean.
Yes. That's good, babe. Why didn't you, let's name our episode Monkey Pissin in the Ocean.
My granddaddy would love that. I'll probably have a few more of his, a little bit more of his wisdom as we move on.
Right. But just that riding that wave and dropping that rope and just keeping the peace, all of these things that I'm trying to learn. You seem like you've known for a long time.
Well, I think, just going through life and dealing with a lot of people, you just learn as you go that there's just a lot of things that have to be let go, that it really doesn't matter if it's corrected or not. It's not something that you face every day. It's not a situation you face every day. It's something that happens just every so often. If you have to go in there and it's not exactly how you wanted it, but you're talking for 1 day or 1 hour, just suck it up and go in there and get it done. It doesn't really matter in the big picture.
Right. I think that's a boy trait. I don't think we have that ability. I really don't.
I would agree with you.
Some of my closest girlfriends always tease and call them dudes because they're just so balanced and level-headed. They're not so emotional. And I think that they would have that trait. Now that I think about it, that might be what attracts me to them is how peaceful they keep things. Lanny is always just, she just goes with the flow. Yeah. She's never creating drama or pulling on the rope, or she just kind of, that's why she's so fun to be around. Yeah. She's just kind of riding the wave, going with it.
Right. Well, and I think that's part of that. Somehow people were raised, in different ways, and, it sticks with some and doesn't with others.
Right. Or the things that we've had to walk through. And
it makes life a lot simpler.
It does. Well, I'll have to learn it.
Yeah. And so, again, I think you should reread what Alex wrote. I think that's pretty important. Part of that, it's a fancier way of saying it than I would say it, but I think it's worth reading again because you read it pretty fast a while ago. And
I did.
And we read a lot of that stuff and look at a lot of quotes and things that matter to us, and I think it's worth saying again.
Yeah, that's what they were saying is, Stacy was so quick on her toes and she rode the wave, and Alex wrote, "Ride the wave is excellent advice. I'm slowly learning that correcting errors are really just a selfish act of futility." And then told Stacy, "Thanks for sharing." And I wrote Alex earlier, I was like, "We're about to record. Can I please, quote ya?" And he was like, "Of course." And Alex is someone I've really enjoyed becoming friends with. And the more you find out about your friends, the more you realize why you are attracted to them, because Alex definitely has to grow through some things with his family and with his dad. And that character, just really neat to watch.
Yeah, that's the ultimate fire to walk through to figure out how to just let stuff go.
He's got that fire in his eyes.
Yep, for sure.
Him and Jennifer, we really enjoy when we see them. And their kids go to school with my children, so we do get to see them sometimes. So, but when you're dealing with these things and not so caught up in the drama and not sweating the small stuff, it really can, make you more attractive, make you a better friend, and make your life a lot easier, and lead by example to your children how they should behave as they grow older.
Sure, and I mean, if you're not picking stuff apart, it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, for whatever your part in it is, if you got grace for yourself and if you have grace for the other person, then just let it wash away and go on and be what it is, and it all comes out in the wash.
Right. It makes the room a lot easier to breathe in.
Yep.
That's something my dad called yesterday, and he is the biggest encourager in my life. Jay, you do give him a run for his money because you're such a good encourager, but I used to joke, my dad would be like, "Look at you walk across that room. You're the best person to walk across that room I've ever seen." He is such an encourager, and So he called yesterday and he said, I want to tell you something. You guys, you and Jay and Dusty, you guys are doing an amazing job on those kids. They are so fun to be around. And if you knew me, that's a huge compliment to me because I hated when we would be around families that we would kind of roll our eyes like, oh God, they're coming over. Or Lily teases the Fuller House kids. I guess Joey has crazy kids on Fuller House. And so I just always do want people to be excited that my children are coming, or my parents excited that the kids are going to be there for 4 days and not, finding the closest liquor cabinet. So,
well, I think that's the ultimate to get that from a parent after a 3 or 4 day visit. Yes. And kids running up and down and having a fun with their cousins and having a big time.
Right. And I think, we did go through so much junk, and we went through some really ugly times. We went through some of the darkest times that we've ever experienced, but we really did come out of it still alive and stronger, and our kids are stronger because we forced them to go through some junk, and it wasn't fair. But oh my gosh, they're the best kids. I really just am so thankful.
Yeah, and you hear people say when you're going through it and that kids are real resilient. And you hear it, but when you're first going through it, you're like, I just don't, right. I don't see it. You feel like that you've made such a mess, or there's
a lot of guilt.
Right, a lot of guilt. But as you go through, you find out that they really are resilient. They still love you no matter what. And then, that's their little hearts having grace. Right. Grace for us as adults, even though they have no idea, what they're doing. And,
right.
And for me, just seeing that they still love me and that they can do it, I mean, that starts you down the right path.
It really does.
Well, and I think all the situations teach you that, as you go through them and experience them, that there's a way out and a way to get past it, and it all blows over.
Is it like that monkey?
It is exactly like that monkey. That's my favorite saying.
Well, how come you never said it to me before?
Well, never been in a situation I needed it.
That's really
It's all mattered a lot, what we've talked about. So.
Right.
Well, babe, you got anything else tonight?
I don't think so.
You don't?
Nope.
Well, I guess the road goes on forever and the party never ends.
I love you.
I love you too. We sure appreciate y'all listening today. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can search for us, Moving On Podcast. That's 3 words, on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We would love to hear from you, with ways you're figuring out how to drop the ropes in each of your own lives, and even ways that you're not. Hell, that's just as entertaining to us. See you in a couple of weeks.